Well, good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about the glitch, but glitches happen. Checking audio. Hello. Checking video.
Well, good evening. Hello, hello.
Sounds like everything's going to work great. Hope you all are having a great evening. Yeah, big news to share tonight. So let's run through the roll call here and see who all's in. Food Porn Chef, congratulations on selling my VCR. Gotta love voice recognition, dude. And Matthew's in. Hi, Matthew from Michigan. Awesome to have you in tonight. Tom Downey's here. Tim Myers, Bob Davis. Those guys have been chatting in the background while things were getting started here. Robert Cummington, hello from Tennessee. Robert, great to have you in. And yeah, the technical glitch was I was recording some green screen stuff the other day, and I made some changes to the program that I broadcast from. Well, I do. It's called Open OBS, Open Broadcast Source. Anyway, so when you see me do the head up over video, like, you know, you see the talking head, but there's stuff in the background. I'll show you here real quick how I do that. So I just have that green screen there. I just slide it over. I've got good lighting up here. In fact, the lighting looks pretty good tonight. And I've finally made some changes to my camera, and I've got it on widescreen, and we should be, let's see, it says it's a little lower, so I gotta think that I probably goofed something up here earlier too. And I bet you that is, no, okay. Well, I don't know why that bandwidth's low, because it shouldn't be. Anyway, it looks like everything's good. So, yeah, I hope everybody had a great week. And I guess the news I posted on YouTube here a little while ago, and on my social media over at Instagram and Facebook and all those places is, yeah, the RV is sold. It took... Well, technically, I had a preliminary offer on the table in less than 24 hours. I posted the video Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. I posted it to Facebook and, of course, to my channel. And I said to myself, okay, we'll try that first. If I don't get any hits, or it looks like things are going to have to, you know, I might have to work a little harder at it, then I will, you know, go to RV Trader. They want $55 for an RV listing over on RV Trader. And now even Craigslist is charging $5 to list an RV for sale. So I thought, well, I'll go the lowest drag route right now. And I have a order, or, you know, we have a deal. We finished it up this morning, and it's actually going to turn out really good. So you'll get to meet the new owner next May or June. Let me get settled in here. The story is this. him and his wife, he's retired from the Air Force. His wife is DOD. She's over at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, and that's where they are right now. But he's been a subscriber of the channel for quite a while. And so he's seen over the last several years all the work that I've done to the RV. And so essentially contacted me via email, and we exchanged phone numbers. And he has this special thing that he can call the United States for basically free from Germany, where they're at. And we chatted on early Sunday morning. I'm up pretty early usually most days, so this was early Sunday morning when I got his email, and I says, well, I can chat right now. And so anyway, we went back and forth a little bit on terms, what do we think we want to make out of this, as far as what does he need, what do I need? And so what the deal is that we basically didn't negotiate on price. But what I am going to do is I'm going to fix all the little things that need to be taken care of to make it road ready and as good as new, as good as you can be new when you're 18 years old. So I'm going to fix the water bay door. I'm going to fix the clear coat that's failing. He wants the hardwood floor in the bedroom, which is something I was wanting to do anyway. So I'm going to do that. A couple of other minor little things. He wants me to get the couch and the chair and the ottoman recovered with the same fabric, or as close as we can get to it as possible. And he wants a whole coach surge suppression. There was one other thing that doesn't come to mind. And then he'll pick it up in next May. But the good part of it for me is, in a selfish way, is first I sold the RV. It's going to somebody that's just going to totally love it because they're going to full-time in it. And I still have it for about 9 more months, and I'll still be getting great content out of it, doing projects that I wanted to do in the first place. So it's a win-win-win for me, and I'm excited as can be. So we'll get to meet the owner in May when he comes to pick it up. And then I will stand there and wave goodbye and cry as he pulls out of the storage lot. So anyway, that's how it worked. And I'm, like I say, I just am as lucky and feel as fortunate as I can that it turned over fast as it did. And, everybody's going to be happy in the long run. Let me slide this camera over just a touch so I can see the comments, and I'll slip over to comments. As always, if you have an RV related question, well, anything, throw it over in the chat window. RV related comments, of course, are desirable, but you can ask anything, and I may or may not answer. So let's go back to comments. Let's see. Pre-show, there was 4 or 5 fellows in, and we were chatting in the pre-show, because I usually come on about, well, I try to be here by 7:45 or 7:45 the hour, and just to kind of get things set up. But so we'll be chatting on the side there, and I think it was Bob, and Bob asked me if I had any extra bourbon, and Tom was saying no extra bourbon, we're going to use it all. And sounds like Tom is down, regular visitor, regular viewer. He's down working in on one of his kids' houses. And Tim Myers, who just retired, is learning something about just retiring. You're always busier than hell right after you retire, and it's the way it worked for me. When I finally said, I'm done working, I was so damn busy for about 2 months, 3 months, trying to do all the stuff that I've been putting off, I guess, while I was working, quote unquote. So anyway, totally get that one, Tim. Robert Cummington's in from Tennessee. Hi, Robert. Jim Bertrand. Hi, Jim. It's great to have you in, as well as Elaine Garcia and Two Feathers. Awesome. Boo to you. Yeah, Halloween coming up. What is that? Saturday? 5 days from now? What is that, Saturday? Big time in the Halloween town tonight, or on Saturday night, I guess. Oh, that reminds me, just in case you're wondering, and if you've been following my channel for quite a while, over 4 years now. My aunt and uncle have a 2006 Newmar Baystar, 3331, I think it is. It's a 33 footer. It's a little shorty, but it's got the Cummins in it. It's a pretty nice rig. And in 2017, they tried to sell it. I tried to help them sell it. It didn't work out. I actually ended up driving it from Arizona back to Idaho right around the 1st of May in 2019. And I'm going to go up and take a video of that this weekend for my cousin. And we're going to put that back on and see if we can get it sold too. I think right now, I was talking to him, that it's a good time to sell. The market's good. Lots of people looking for RVs. So watch for a sales-like video on my aunt and uncle's Newmar Baystar to come real soon. I'll probably do the same thing there. Put it on my YouTube, put it on social media, and then expand out as I need to if we don't have a buyer turn up pretty soon. So that's where I'm at. Food Porn Chef still out at Lake Mead, dry camping, but leaving Thursday for Arizona. Showtime 114, watching from Lancaster, South Carolina. Welcome. Great to have you in. Rick C., how's it going, brother? Doyle Thurman from Kansas City. Tom Downey is looking good here. Thanks for the 5x5 update. Doyle Thurman, good audio and video. Yeah, Tim, I was surprised. Not terribly. Again, if you followed your channel for quite a while, you know that Dan and Jen Nevada, who were fellow full-time RVers, similar background, came from rural Nevada, bought a full-time rig, went out full-time for a while. They just sold their RV. They bought a Sticks and Bricks. Well, they actually built a Sticks and Bricks down in Kingman, and but they sold their RV, I think, in the same amount of time, and they also sold it to a subscriber of theirs. So, yeah, but it was fast, and I'm glad. I'm very happy. Round Town Scouter's in. Gracie's Seeking Adventure. Hi. Yeah, thanks, Gracie, for the reminder. If you like the channel and the content you're seeing, be sure and give me that thumbs up. I always appreciate those. Thank you, Robert. And Gracie. Bob Davis. Quality sells. Yes, it does, Bob. I think it's absolutely true. Plus, I was pretty aggressive on the pricing. I had gone to RV Trader and looked around, and I was seeing rigs anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 of the same year, the 2004s. And so I kind of went in the middle, and so it turned out good for everybody. Okay, so Bob Davis has a question, though. Main battery disconnect. Hook up positive or negative? Negative. Yeah, always want to hook up disconnect switches. Your first choice would be on the negative side, and then your second choice would be the positive side, but it should be on the negative side, yes. Okay, so Food Porn Chef says, I'm even more happy and military guy getting it. Oh my God, I'm so happy for this. Yeah, thanks. Food Porn Chef says he was stationed in Germany and been to that base tons of times. It's one of the few left. Yeah, back in the 70s when I was in the military, I was in Germany. That's another story for another day, though. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Yeah, win-win-win for everybody. I think they're going to love it, and I'm going to love it. Hey, while I'm doing this, quick question. I have an interior tour that I did. Now, if you watched the sales video last week, you noticed that I was teasing, okay? And that's something I learned, if you follow the channel, you know that a side project or some side hustle I've been doing was real estate marketing videos for a realtor here in Pocatello where I'm at. And we were talking one day about putting the videos together and what we thought was best practices and those sorts of things. And we decided rather than bombing everybody with everything, that we wanted people to get interested and then call the realtor in this particular case, and go see the house, because that's what you really want, right? Is you want to get that person in the house. And so I do have an interior tour. It is pretty rough. It was just a quick grab and go to show to the folks over in Germany. And a quick poll, would you like to see that video tonight? If you would, just type yes over in the chat window, and I'll play that here in just a couple minutes, okay? All right, back to the comments. Judy White. Hello, Judy. Long time. Nice to have you in. Tom Downey. Good coaches are easy to sell. Yes, they are. And people who've done their research know what a good coach is. I had several questions come in from my Facebook post, and I could tell these people didn't know what they were after. They didn't know what they were looking at. They hadn't done any research. And when you go looking for coaches, there's a few names that come to the top when it comes to quality, and Newmar is one of those names. I'm going to say the older Newmars. I don't have firsthand experience. Okay, I have to admit, I don't have firsthand experience with the newer ones. I read the forums, I see the complaints, but you're going to find that about any coach. Integra, Holiday, you name it, Winnebago. There's going to be people out there that are going to bitch and moan and complain about this or that going wrong. It's the nature of the beast, okay? They're machines, and machines break. But I think, I think maybe, well, I don't know. I think an older coach is probably better. Good point, Tom. And yeah, hi, Judy. Okay, Terry Jean. Hi, Terry. Hello from Michigan. What is the best rodent deterrent for RV storage? Okay, I've got two. First off, make sure you have everything food that you can smell out of your rig. All right? Clean the fridge. Make sure there's no spilled food in the cupboards. Nothing that's not in a hard-sided container. I'm talking like cans. Unopened cans, unopened plastic bottles. Oh, in Michigan, you're probably going to want to take all those out because it freezes there. So leave no food in that RV and make sure it's clean before you put it away. Okay, that's your first deterrent. The second one is steel wool. Stainless steel wool. It needs to be stainless so it won't rust. And essentially all you need to do is get yourself a bundle of steel wool from Home Depot. Stainless, okay, don't forget you got to use stainless. And a screwdriver, and crawl around underneath the rig and pack every hole that you can see underneath with steel wool. Okay, that will help keep them out of the rig. And then the third thing is snap traps. Unless you are humane, this is probably in a video, probably 2019. I was dry camping at a place called Birch Creek, which is about, that's maybe in 2 hours from here, north of me. It's one of my favorite places to go. You're going to find several videos over on my channel. In 2017, I went and watched the total solar eclipse from there. In 2019, I was back for a 2-week stay. So it's one of my favorite places. But it's rodent city. And when I left there and got over to my next destination, I probably killed 6 or 7 mice. They were the worst I'd ever seen it. And so snap traps is really the only way to go. Or you can get a humane trap. You can get those reusable traps. But yeah, a snap trap baited with peanut butter. Peanut butter is magic. Peanut butter is the bomb, as the kids say, for mice or rodents. And put snap traps in and then visit your rig regularly for, the first, you kind of have to get a feel for it. Put it in storage, leave it for a week, run out and check real quick, and make sure you haven't caught any rodents. And if you haven't caught any rodents, then you can probably go to a 2-week cycle. And after a couple of visits for 2 weeks, if you still don't have any mice or any other critters, then you're probably good to go. And you could probably go to checking once a month. But you should be checking your rig once a month in storage anyway. Okay, that's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, and it costs you nothing. So it's worth what it's worth, right? So that's my recipe for rodent deterrent. first, make sure you get all smells of food or anything like that out of the coach, because that will draw them into the coach. They're not going to really be looking for warmth. They're following their nose, and if they smell food, they're going to go after it. So that is critical. Pack every crack and opening you can find with stainless steel wool. Screwdriver, pack it in there real tight. The steel wool will deter them. They won't chew through it. Foam, they will chew through. Anything they can chew through, they will. Snap traps or humane traps, whatever your preference are. And you should be good to go. Which reminds me, there is an article over on my website, trbolin.com, and you can find an article in there. It's called 18 Tips for Storing Your RV for Winter. And I talk about rodent prevention, all the things you should be doing when you're storing your rig in winter. And in fact, I have a video coming on that within the next little bit, which also reminds me, I have a video premiering this Sunday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, of me replacing the RV's fridge with a residential. The story behind that one is that my very first RV how-to video was replacing my fridge back in 2017. And it was rough. I hadn't been editing for very long. It was my first video. Some of the camera angles were bad. Some of the exposures were pretty bad. But I've gone through and cleaned all that up. And because of popular demand, people kept asking for a 1-episode summary. When I first published it, it was 3 20-plus minute episodes. And so I have boiled it all down, recut it, the director's cut, if you will, and that will publish Sunday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Join us over there on the premiere, and I might even do a quick live stream right after the video. So look for us on Sunday night at 7 for the premiere of installing a residential fridge in your RV. So Terry, I hope I got your question answered. Rick C. Yeah, RV Trader, TR Trader. I read RV Trader. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Ian Fox, great to have you in as well. Round Town Scatter. Yes, all my retirement free time. Yeah, when it first starts, and after a while, you kind of remember how to say no. You'll know. Those of you that are. Oh yes, Elaine, I did see your email. I thought I responded and say, okay, let's watch and see what happens with the diode. The research that I did kind of made me think that diode could be it, because remember what a diode does is it makes electricity go one direction only. So, and if that diode's bad, then the electricity could be coming backwards. So. Yes, I'm sorry, Elaine. I did. I thought I responded. Maybe I didn't. I tend to get distracted very easily. Oh, something shiny. But yeah, so let's. The diode I thought was probably a good start, and we'll let that get replaced tomorrow, and then kick me an email, and let me know how that turns out, and then we'll dig deeper. Okay, awesome. Bob Davis says, thanks, got different answers. Yeah, it's Fords and Chevys, Bob. For me, always disconnect the negative first, okay? If you're servicing your batteries, you always disconnect the negative first. I mean, that's just common, that's just best practices, really. And so I always think go negative first, switching on the negative. I think that's the best practice. Okay, so we do want to see the tour. So, okay, I'll do the cheap commercial that I like to do about this time, which is, don't forget I'm an Amazon affiliate, and you can support the channel by visiting the link in the description below to my Amazon store, where you pay the exact same price and I get a small commission. And your support is greatly appreciated. Secondly, go over to my website, trbolin.com. Lots of great content over there. Not all of the content on my website is on my YouTube channel and vice versa. There's more textural, okay, long format type content over on my website at trbolin.com. And visiting me over there is also greatly helpful. It helps Google see that there's traffic coming to my website, and it tends to present my articles more often. And so that's greatly appreciated. And then, of course, those thumbs up, always greatly appreciated. Appreciate your likes, your subscribing, clicking the notification for when I have new videos go up. All right, with that, let me get set up here real quick, and we will watch the interior tour. Let's see, where did that go? Sorry, where'd that go? Oh, wait a minute, it's over here. Okay, I'll figure all this technology out about 2 days before I die, probably. All right. Let's see here. All right, come on. Well, here it is. All right. One more thing to do here, sorry. Let me just go over and check the comments real quick, and then we'll kick that off. Hi, George, a.k.a. Dad. Great to have you in tonight. 2 feathers. Snap tarps are a good survival tool. You betcha they are. Do I have advice for towing when looking towing insurance? Yes. George, a.k.a. Dad. Snap traps. Peanut butter. Crochet thread tied to the trap's trigger. Crochet thread? Seriously? Huh, that's interesting. What do? Try to go get the thread and they pull it and it snaps them? Interesting. George, a.k.a. Dad. Tomcat glue traps to catch the small mice that seem to be able to lick the peanut butter off, even the crochet thread attached to the trap's trigger. Yeah, I've had that issue before too. Okay, Tim has a question, and we will get to that in a moment. I think. Am I ready to go here? There's no narration on this, and I can't narrate it at the same time. Due to some technical stuff, the way I have this set up to do the green screen, but we'll make this work this way. Okay, so about 2/3 of the way through that, I realized that I shot this in 4K and you weren't seeing everything. Ah, oh well. Here's the plan though. I am going to go ahead and produce that video. It's just an inside tour and release that here in the next week or so, a couple days, something like that. And push it out because the tour videos seem to be really popular. And so I think I'll do that for you. Lots of questions came in and a little chatter over there on the side during the chat. So let's go ahead and catch up with some questions here and see what we got going on. Okay. Tim Myers, my tires are aging out and I will need to replace this spring. I know everyone has different favorites, but what brands have worked best for the group in the 265, 75R, 22.5? I have Yokohama tires now. Well, let me tell you, Tim, I put the Bridgestone, I think the B286s on, which were their energy saving. Let's see here. Let me get this down here and get this cleaned up. Which were the fuel savings tires. And I've always had good luck with Bridgestones. Michelin has a good name. I had Goodyears before, and I ran those the full 6 years before I replaced them, and they were just fine. So yeah, I think the Goodyear or Michelin are really good tires, and it looks like Tom thinks Michelin always. Yeah, I would agree. Michelin, I think, is a good tire. Like I say, I've had personally good luck with Bridgestone, and I have Yokohama Geolanders on my Subaru, and I specifically put those back on it when I replaced them 2 years ago. Those Geolanders, I'll tell you what, those things took me everywhere. When I took them in to get them replaced, the guy comes out. Well, the first thing is I had over 70,000 rolling miles on them. Okay, when I say rolling miles, I only had like 42,000 on the odometer, but there was another 28,000 miles of it being towed around behind the RV, and every roll of the tire actually puts a little wear on it. But the guy came out to me when he was getting ready to put the tires on. He says, "Where the hell have you had this thing?" Because the tires that I had on it were cut up. There weren't any big hunks or anything ripped out of it, but that's from me spending all my time for 4 straight years in the Arizona desert in the winter, and going down some old dirt roads and trails and rocky roads and stuff, and the tires got cut up. But those tires took me everywhere, so I'm a big fan of Yokohama, and I say stick with what's working for you. If the Yokohamas have been great and you haven't had any troubles with them, I would get the Yokohamas. Now, as far as the Centromatic balancers, I looked into those a little bit, and I just decided they were overkill. When I bought the tires, I had them balanced. All the tires were balanced, every one of them, front and rear. A lot of times they won't balance the rears, and it's like, I don't know, it was like $16 a tire to balance them or something like that. They charge you for everything when you get those big ass tires. But I said do it anyway because I wanted them all balanced, and then I never had any trouble with it. So I think the Centromatics might be a little bit overkill, but somebody else might have an opinion about that. While I'm thinking about it, before I go on to the next question, does anybody in the chat have experience with the Chevy or GMC Duramax 6.6 diesel, the LB7, in a 2000, in the early 2000s, say 2002 to 2006 series pickups? If you have experience with that, put a comment over there, and we'll chat about that when I get down there. The reason I'm asking is I'm looking at, I mentioned a while back that I was looking at a camper shell that's on an estate sale, and there's a pickup on the same estate sale, and that's the pickup. It's the GMC 2003 Duramax. Obviously, the guy had this pickup to haul the same camper shell, and so I'm thinking, it might not be a bad idea to go after both of them, the pickup and the camper shell. But I wasn't going to get a diesel. I'll be honest with you. I was not going to get a diesel. So if you have any experience, throw that in the comments there. And if you have comments or questions, be sure and put them in the chat window. I will get to you and get your question answered as soon as possible. Okay. Tom Downey chimes in with Michelin. Yep. Tom Downey. So we were chatting about rodents in your RV and avoiding them or getting rid of them. And he says, someday I will tell you why never shoot a rat in your trailer. You know what that brings to my mind? What is it? True Grit? Yeah, the real True Grit. Not the one that was a remake, but the real True Grit. And they're sitting there in Chin Lee's back room, and John Wayne, there's a rat over in the corner, and he rips out his big 44 and he 45, and he bangs away at that rat in the corner. That's what that reminds me of, Tom. Mick the Dog says, Tim Myers, I have Centermatics on my gasser. Love them, made a huge difference. Okay. Doyle Thurman. Hi, Doyle. Great to have you in. I have a new to me 26-foot camper trailer here in Kansas City, Missouri. It's time to winterize. I need to catch your video on that. Yes, actually, I don't specifically have a video for winterization yet. I'm in the process of putting it together, but it takes quite a while to do one of these videos if you do it right. You could throw them together half-assed, and my personal standards won't let me do that. But it'll be coming here in the next 10 days. In the interim, Doyle, run over to my website, trbolin.com. On there, you're going to find an article that I mentioned earlier, 18 tips for winterizing your RV. And that's got everything that you could think of that would be something you want to address when you're wanting to do your winterization. Let me scroll back over the questions here real quick and just make sure I didn't miss anything. I thought I saw something from, and maybe I got past it. Food Porn Chef. Yeah, okay. He asks, what do you have advice for towing when looking for towing insurance? Extra money to cover miles and such. What good to ask when getting the insurance? Okay. I got and have used Good Sam's roadside assistance since I bought the coach. And it's $129, $149 a year or something like that. And one tow job will pay for that. The thing about Good Sam is that I've been pretty happy with them, and I've been towed twice by Good Sam. And I've also had roadside assistance come out twice with Good Sam, and I've always been fairly happy. The thing to keep in mind, and just know this, when you break down and you need a tow, don't be in a hurry, okay? Even if you're on the side of the road, this is firsthand experience, even if you're broke down on the side of the road and there's cars or trucks screaming by, don't get in a hurry. You're not going to do anything but make those tow truck drivers mad if you're calling and screaming at them, asking them where they're at, okay? But other than that, I would say the Good Sam is good. Now, FMCA, that's a Freightliner Motor Chassis Owners Association. I saw, let's see, it looked like, was it Mick the Dog said or Doyle, I can't remember. Somebody down here in the comments said that they had AAA. I think AAA is fine, but the Good Sam roadside assistance is what I used and will use and continue to use. Because it's been good, and I don't have any complaints about it. So that would be my recommendation is Good Sam, but that's my first-hand experience. Okay. Dale Thurman. Okay. George, a.k.a. Dad. Technology, and 4 days after we die, the technology we know will be obsolete. Isn't that the truth? Oh, Bob Davis says he has AAA. Truck insurance covers towing. Yeah, and sometimes that will be the case. Depending upon your insurance, it may cover towing on a towed vehicle. When I say a towed vehicle, I mean like a trailer. But yeah, if you're worried about breaking down out in the, in the middle of someplace and wanting to get towed, Good Sam's been good. Now, every company's going to have their restrictions, their fine print, and so you want to follow the fine print. But I think that's probably your best bet, in my opinion. Two feathers, yeah. Mary Stankiewicz. Oh, hi, Mary. Well, great to have you back in. Her comments are not going through. Oh, dang it. But Maiden Voyage was spectacular. They just bought a new to them RV as well. And except they used plastic blocks for the jack. And yes, it slipped off. It hit my toe. Lost the nail and lots of pain, but kept the toe. Yeah. Some lessons are expensive and painful. Fortunately, that one wasn't too bad. Here's my recommendation, Mary. You can get sheets of rubber, really inexpensive, thin sheets of rubber, and glue those to the bottom of your jacks. Okay? That will stop them from slipping off. And it's just really thin rubber sheeting. It's really fairly inexpensive, and you can get it on Amazon, and just use some good contact adhesive and glue them to the bottom of the jacks, and you'll be good to go. But yeah, great to hear that you had an awesome trip. Thank you, George, for the comment about the nice walkthrough. Okay, Chris Reeves. Hi, Chris. 94 Winnebago, 37-foot, tag axle Chevy Jet Ride air suspension. My question, the compressor in the rear seems to only port to two things, a hydraulic brake line and an air coupling function. The air coupling is for towing. Oftentimes in the longer rigs, there will be a coupling on the rear, and that's for when you're being towed. Keep in mind that air brakes, the default position is set. In other words, if there's no air in the system, those brakes are locked up tight. And so when you're getting towed, they need to be able to pressurize your air brake system to get the air brakes off. And sometimes you might have air-assisted hydraulics. There's all kinds of weird things that they've done with braking. But that's probably what it is to be able to compressor in the rear seems to only port to two things, a hydraulic brake line and an air quick coupling function. Yeah, so the quick coupling is for towing. And by the way, the cute little secret, and in fact I have one of these in my RV, that quick coupling, you can also put an air hose on and use it to inflate things, tires, toys, stuff like that. Of course, you have to have the rig running, so the air compressor's running. But very likely that's what it is, Chris, is for the ability for the tow truck driver to be able to pressurize your brakes so that if you're being towed, the brakes are off. George, a.k.a. Dad, what did you have for air crossover extenders for your inner duals? I had just extension extension stems that were about, probably maybe that long, 4 to 6 inches. And they seem to work pretty fine. But honestly, and I'll probably do this before I sell the RV. Oh, a couple of the other things I was going to do was get it serviced, oil filters. I'll service the generator, oil filters, and those sorts of things before the new owner picks it up. But yeah, I just want to take those in and get better extensions on. I'll be honest with you, it's kind of a pain to top the tires off with those extensions on. You're scratching up your arm or whatever. They're a pain in the ass. But yeah, I use the solid ones for my inner duals. Chris Reeves says, by the way, the A24 is great for varmint control. Hi, Lola Ranch. It's great to have you in tonight. Happy to have you here. Tom Downey, 2003 is the good ones. I have 360,000 miles. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks, Tom. You haven't had any injector problems or anything? Because I was doing some research today, and it seems like the most common thing is the injectors. And then there was there was a common problem with a leak, an oil leak, and some other things that I'm going to look at. The inspection day is next Monday. I'll take my camera with me and share the footage with you next Tuesday night. And then I think the auction closes probably Thursday. But I'll let you know next week. And I'll get some video of the pickup and the camper. And then we'll review that next week. And you guys can help me decide if I should buy it. Mick, I love your thought. He says, I winterized mine by driving it to Florida. And that's the way I did. I winterized mine by going to Arizona. But not everybody has that option. But that's a good one, Mick. Chris Reeves, good nature out of New Zealand. Okay. I'm not following you, Chris. Did I miss a comment? Chris Reeves, hello again. Hydraulic brake function. Okay. Okay, good. Good nature out of New Zealand? Question mark. Tom Downey, 2003 equals the good ones. I have, okay, 360 on his work truck. Okay, good. Round Town Scouter. Does not the Good Sam A cover your vehicles? It covers everything. That's one thing that's nice about it, is the Good Sam covers your towed. It has all of the standard features of the AAA, you know, the fuel delivery, the unlock service, those sorts of things. But you're absolutely right. It does cover your towed. And that's one of the other nice things about Good Sam. I think FMCA does the same thing. CoachNet is another one that's out there. There's a couple others as far as roadside assistance goes. But those are the ones that I know about. And I don't have any hesitation recommending Good Sam. Hi, Bruce Bronham. It's great to have you in tonight. Thank you for joining the chat and the stream. Excuse me for just 1 second. Not a problem. Security alert from my camera system. It's been awful windy and rainy here the last couple days, and the camera system's been going crazy because the trees are all jumping and shaking all over, and it's kicking off the alarms. Okay, Tom Downey. The only casualty was the water heater. There was 4 people aboard. Okay, all right. Renee Morris. Hi, Renee Morris. Using my Boraxo and Dawn tank solution. Question about cleaning my plastic toilet bowl. It's crudted over with something. I'm afraid to use anything like soft scrub or abrasives. Any suggestions? Those are fine to use. Is your toilet ceramic or plastic? The other thing you can use, because oftentimes that'll be hard water, you can use CLR or Lime Away or one of those to scrub it out, and that will help get rid of any of the hardened calcium, any of that kind of stuff. So, but I wouldn't be afraid to use the abrasive. Soft scrub should be just fine. If it's ceramic, don't worry about using like Comet or any of those. Oh, Renee says it's plastic. Okay, so plastic, yeah. The soft scrubber brushes, the soft scrub is just fine. The CLR, I highly recommend, will help get rid of anything like, hard water and those sorts of things. And that should get you going, Renee. And yeah, don't worry about it. One thing I will mention, though, is be sure to use lots of water and rinse the flapper valve. So inside of that toilet, there's that valve that slides back and forth like this. Be sure and rinse that off really well, several times, then cycle it. So push it down, rinse it off, let it up, rinse it, push it down, rinse it, let it off, rinse it. And that'll make sure that there's no abrasive or anything down in the seal, because there's actually a rubber seal that sits on top of that ball that holds the water in the bowl. But yeah, you can use those. That's just fine. If you have a ceramic, you can use Ajax or Comet or whatever your favorite abrasive scrubber is. And again, all you have to do is just be super careful about rinsing the bowl out and rinsing the valve off. Okay. George, a.k.a. Dad. Block under the jacks. I use cutoffs from rigid beams soaked in preservative. There you go. That's a dang good idea. I actually built my blocks, and what I did was I took and bought some 2x10s, pressure treated, and I ripped them down to, 2 feet. But then what I did was I cut off an inch and a half from each end and then flipped it 90 degrees, and I screwed it to the end of the board. Because otherwise the board wants to cup, right? It wants to cup like this. And putting that little 1.5 inch strip on the edge of the board makes it rigid, and so they don't tend to cup. And I would usually get 4 to 5 years out of my blocks. Again, I would just use pressure treated 2x10s. The plastic ones are just fine. I just made my own. And I had some 4x4s that I had in there, so that if I needed to get blocked up a little higher, I had 4 extra pieces of 4x4, and so I could crib it and get the blocks up a little higher. But yeah, that's what I would use. Gary Reed, best bet is fix it on the spot. Agreed, Gary. Ian Fox, very important if I own a diesel. Make sure your insurance covers fuel contamination. Interesting. Okay, good to know. Mary Stankiewicz, hubby forgot to bring the wood block. Yeah, we know how husbands are. John just got back from We the People meeting. Glad to be here. We're glad to have you, John. Thanks. George, a.k.a. Dad, are coupling to towing in up front by the gen set. Okay, George, elaborate. Thank you, Gracie Seeking Adventures. We'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for joining tonight. Tom Downey, takes normal maintenance and never use bad fuel. That's good advice for any diesel. I had a 2001 F350 Ford with the 7.3 diesel for a long time, and maintenance is critical. Fuel filters, and then the second thing is that I would rarely buy diesel at a convenience store. I would go to the truck stops. The Flying J's, Maverick here has several large truck stops, because those guys sell hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel a month. Their fuel is fresh. There's typically plenty of filtering on it. And then again, I would always change my fuel filters very regularly on any of my diesels. My RV, my generator gets the fuel filter changed once a year, etc., etc. Chris Reeves, thanks. My first thought, Terry at Winnebago Parts is on the hunt for the diaphragm. Okay. Chris Reeves, thank you very much for the super chat. John, thank you so much for your super chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, Richard Kirby, good morning. What are you doing up? It's the middle of the frickin' night there. I guess I'll spill the beans. Richard is Rusty's new owner. You might see Richard over in the chat. And Richard is going to be Rusty's new daddy. Welcome, Richard. I'm glad to have you in the chat this morning from Germany, where it is, 4 in the morning? Something like that, something crazy. And I thought I was an early riser. Hi, Rich. Thanks to have you in. Chris Reeves, sorry. 824 is a CO2 powered baited mousetrap. Good Nature is the manufacturer. Oh, okay. The snap traps need to be reset. Literally 24 cycles and 6-month lures. Interesting. A24 is a CO2 powered baited mousetrap. I like that. I'm going to make a note of that because that's not bad. So that's Good Nature. A24. Thank you very much, Chris. That's an awesome suggestion. And we will share that. And I'm going to, I'll research that and I'll probably add that to my article and then to the video I'm doing. Two Feathers commenting to Tom Downey. You seriously shot inside your trailer with poor people inside and took out your water heater, for God's sake. George, a.k.a. Dad. Cut boards is why I took advantage of cutoffs from Ridgy beams. They are very stable. You know, the ones that I thought would make really good blocks are LVLs. And you might be, Ridgy beams might be LVLs, or laminated veneer lumber. They use it for like headers and stuff like that. So it's, you know, usually 1.5 inches thick and maybe 10 inches tall or 8 inches tall. But I thought LVLs might make good blocks. If you could find some scrap ones, I wouldn't go out and buy them to make blocks out of. That would be too expensive. Roundtown Scouter. George, a.k.a. Dad. What was this preservative? Yep, George, a.k.a. Dad. That's the air quick cupping for towing, correct. Tom Downey says, I never need blocks. The HWH jacks take care of it. Yeah, the only time I really need blocks is when I'm camping or I'm on grass. Okay? And I learned a lesson very early in life with my RV when my jacks sunk into the ground. And they were a slow beep, 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 beep to get out. So, yeah. I always use blocks now on grass. Never on, well, rarely or if ever on the ground or anything like that. But yeah, my HWH jacks take great care of that. Lola Ranch, on the topic of winterizing, do we need to do anything if living in RV in cold Colorado? That is, putting RV antifreeze to holding tanks, etc. Lola, you live in yours for the winter, right? You're full timing and you're living in yours in the winter. I have tons of ideas on that. I believe we talked about skirting and some other things in the past as far as the cold goes. So we talked about a heated hose. I'm pretty sure we exchanged some information on heated hoses. I'm assuming you want to live in the RV for the winter. And if that's the case, yes, you say yes. Okay, awesome. I will give you a list of things to do, but in short, if the RV is heated in the winter, like I say, I'm assuming you're living in it, so you're keeping it warm, you should not need to, or you should probably not want to, winterize your lines or anything like that. Okay? We had a gentleman in who was wintering down in North Carolina, and so my suggestions there were to get a trouble light, okay? An old-fashioned automotive trouble light. The reason I like those is they're caged, right? So the light bulb sits inside of a cage, so it doesn't, the light bulb, it still gets warm, but not hot. And an incandescent light bulb, I know they're hard to find. You can't use LEDs or CFLs, compact fluorescents. You need an incandescent, because what that's going to do is, and about a 60 to the 60 watt is usually enough. Just leave that in your water bay. that will keep your valves and everything working. Okay, so your holding tank valves won't freeze up. Um, then your heated hose we've talked about. Keep your valves closed. Um, I'm sure we've chatted about insulating underneath your rig. I believe that was you I was chatting about that with. Um, but yeah, so you don't want to put RV antifreeze in your holding tanks or anything like that. You shouldn't need to if the RV is heated in the winter. If it's not heated, then you don't want to use your holding tanks if at all possible. Okay, good, Lola. So yeah, I think that the trouble light in your water bay is a um, good strategy to keep that water bay warm and keep it just warm enough so that it's not freezing. Then the other thing I would recommend is buy an inexpensive outdoor thermometer and put the sender in your water bay and then set the alarm on it for 32 degrees or something like that. And that way you'll be warned in advance when that water bay gets to freezing. And so you can take additional steps like going out and dumping your tanks right then, dumping your holding tanks right then, and that sort of stuff. Okay, but I highly recommend that, particularly where you're there in Colorado, is get an inexpensive outdoor thermometer, put the remote in your water bay, keep the inside widget somewhere where it's convenient for you, and that will keep that water bay warm, and you'll be monitoring it so you'll know when it's getting into the danger zone and that you need to take additional action. Okay, hope that helps. Hi, Peter from Las Vegas. Great to have you in tonight. 0400, yeah, I figured it was early there, Richard. But yeah, great to have you in and on the chat live tonight. You don't have to watch the replay. Tom Downey, fuel filters, don't change them until you need to. I change mine every once a year or every 12,000 miles approximately. Yeah, George, aka Dad, we were talking about Ridgy beams. They're laminated beams, LVL lumber. We were talking about making blocks. And yeah, so Tom Downey says, I was not the shooter. And we're talking about Tom and the water heater and the shooting a gun inside your RV at a rat. And it sounds to me like there might have been way too much alcohol involved there. Yeah, choose a better campsite. Yeah. Yeah, turn the light on to heat the water bay. Exactly. Chuck Fett says, does a guy need a 50-foot or a 25-foot heated water hose at most camping grounds? 25-foot is usually plenty. And you get a 50-foot long heated hose, first off, you're going to be into some cash. A couple $100 probably. And then they're a bugger to roll up. I'll be honest with you. So I think 25 is probably more than long enough. I would encourage anybody in the chat that has a different opinion to say so. But yeah, I think 25 is more than enough. You're welcome, Lola. Chris Reeves, oh dear, winter is upon me and my Coleman Mach thermostat decides when I awake in sweat and when I awake with his chatter. Thanks for the suggestions on winterization. You're welcome. Yeah, check out that article over on my website, trbullen.com. It's pretty comprehensive, and it gets a lot of views, especially this time of year. All right. Any other questions, comments, stuff you want to throw out there? Do that, and I'll answer those real quick. Since we're kind of getting to the end here, I want to try one quick setting. Sometimes, okay, no, it's not going to let me because the stream has started. But is the video quality, has it been great? Other than it looks like it's a little washed out tonight. Let's Let me turn down the light a little bit. Oh, that now it's blue. We'll see what it looks like over here on the live stream with one of the lights off. Um, but yeah, it looked. Oh, that's actually a little better. I'm still a little pale looking. I'm not that pale usually. I think it's probably the screen here over on my main screen. I bet you if I do that, it won't be quite so blue. But next week, I think I'll be in 4K. I should be in 4K this week, but technology sometimes escapes me. All right. So, anything else? Looks good. Good enough for me. Thanks, Tom, Lola. All right. Well, okay. John Besmick says, "Did I miss what tells my RV furnace after heat is satisfied, but the furnace fan doesn't shut down?" You mean it just continually keeps running, or it should run for a minute to 2 minutes after the burners turn off. It should run for a minute or 2 minutes to cool off, the heat exchanger and that sort of stuff. But after a couple minutes, that fan should shut off. Once the furnace, quote, the heat side or the burner shuts off, John. If it's not shutting off after a couple minutes, it sounds like a sensor or something maybe wonky. But yeah. Oh, he says it keeps running until I reset. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a sensor on the furnace. Yeah, that sounds like a sensor, John. Do you know what furnace you have by any chance? Thank you, Chris. Yes, it's been pleasant. Thank you, Gary. Great to have you in tonight. GD Rodriguez, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for coming into the stream. He says thanks for all the learnings. Tom Downey. Oh, by the way, the rat got away, but the water heater didn't. That was kind of fun. Oh, Jason Mills. Jason, hey, great to have you in tonight. 50-foot heated hose. Extra coils help displace the heat. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Mick the dog, the control board. John Besmick says, what controls that? I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, if you could tell me what kind of furnace it is, then I'll do a little research for you, John, and see what I can find out. But it's very likely that there's probably a sensor. It could even be something as simple as a capacitor on the control board that's getting tired. But yeah, if you could let me know what furnace model it is, then I'll do some research. And of course, I believe you have my email. If you don't, you can email me at trbolin@gmail.com. And that way I'll have it and we can chat about that next week. Jason Mills says, I never keep my heated hoses laying straight. All way loose coils, the whole thing. Yeah, and that's a good point, Jason. And what Jason is saying is that rather than having it stretched out and running long, is that he has his coiled on the ground, and he stretches that coil out. And that's actually a good plan. That's a good policy because it keeps extra heat in the hose. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I like that idea. I've done that with my heated hose when I've needed it before. And I had forgotten about that, so thanks, Jason. Thank you, Karen Kelly. It's so nice to have you in. We'll hopefully see you next week. Gary Reed, it's a sensor? Yeah, sensor. Gotcha. Yep. Have a great evening, John. It's so nice to have you in tonight. Any other questions or comments over in the chat window are very welcome. It's coming up on 8:15. I usually try to keep these to an hour and a half. We still have 32, 33 odd people connected. So anyway, anything last minute questions or comments? Let me make sure I'm down here long. Let me go look and follow up. I've actually had some questions come in after or during the show that I should have answered, and so I've learned to go check now. Oh, and one last thing I want to mention is I still have my cache of Newmar documentation. It covers the early models, 03, 04s, 05s, and then there's also some documentation in there around the 14, 15, 16, and 17s. And those are available to anybody that would like to have them. All you need to do is kick me an email, trbolin@gmail.com, with your email in it, and then I will go share that folder with you off a Dropbox. I have had several people request it, and I've granted, of course. It's open, and I'm sharing that with everybody. But yeah, if you have a desire to get that, I would be happy to share it with you. All I need is your email address. You'll get a link to a Dropbox folder with all the documents in it. I've got chassis schematics, chassis, not coach, because coach schematics don't exist. But I've got chassis schematics for the air, for the electrical. I've got so much stuff in there that I'd be happy to share. Yes, Lola. Coil the hose like a snake. Exactly. Jim Bertrand, he says, what do I think of the tankless water heaters? Love them. I had the Gerard. You're mentioning the Gerard. I had the GK2. I put it in my RV. It was, it's a hard a decision to make what was the best upgrade I ever made, whether it be the fridge or the tankless water heater. The fridge was so amazing with all the space, but the tankless water heater, you could take an endless shower and never run out of hot water. And I had the Gerard, and I was very happy with it. The only time I was really ever not 100% happy with the Gerard, and you're going to find this with any gas appliance, is when I was at altitude. Keep in mind, I wish Randy Waller was here, our resident HVAC guy tonight, but he's not. But he's our friend that's an HVAC guy. But remember, the higher in altitude you get, the more your gas appliances get derated. And what that means is, if you have a 30,000 BTU furnace, that's measured at sea level. You get up around 8,000 feet, 9,000 feet, you're only going to get maybe 24,000 BTUs out of that. And so when I was at altitude, I was at Henry's Lake State Park, which was just about 7,000 feet in altitude. It was cold. The incoming water temperature was about 45. And the water didn't quite get as hot as I'd like. But it was still hot enough to shower with, to do dishes. But that was the only thing that I ever ran into a trouble with on the Gerard, was at very high altitude with really cold water coming in. It had a hard time bringing the temperature up. But the rest of the time, it was perfect. And yeah, so the GK2 is what I had, and I loved it. Bob Davis, never feel bad about your average temperature being 52. Thanks, Tim. Great to have you in tonight, and thanks on the congrats, and I hope to see you next week. Friend GD Rodriguez says, I'm finishing my doghouse with fiberglass primer. Any recommendations for replacing the missing latch? Yes. You can get those latches Oh gosh, I remember I had a friend of mine who had an old Dodge a van that had these, but they're those hood latches. They're those hood releases, uh, like on old Jeeps, like on really old Jeeps. You know, they're spring mounted. They've got just a little hook on them. You screw it to the floor. There's a little catcher on it, and you just pull them up, and they just hook onto it. Um, I think that would probably work great. And they're really low profile, pretty innocuous. And I don't remember the name of those. Anybody remember the name of those? I will do some research and see what I can find out, Mr. Rodriguez, and throw that out next week. But yeah, what were those called? Hood, hook, hood latch, hook, babadoo, hood. Oh, better put on this note. Okay, I'll dig into that for you and have you an answer next week. Chris Reeves, do I know or have a measuring battery draw from the chassis to determine the chassis battery drain? Um, you could put a shunt on it, and you could get an inexpensive shunt to measure that. You don't have to go with like a BMV 712, like a $200 battery monitoring system for Victron. But you could buy a really inexpensive shunt and put a really inexpensive shunt on it, and that would tell you. Um, um, I can't remember the name of them, but I would recommend. Yeah, that would probably be the way I would want to do it. Is just a fairly inexpensive shunt with a fairly inexpensive meter, and that would be a good way to measure the chassis battery drain. George, aka Dad, says the beautiful fall foliage is turning into the damn leaves. Yeah, I know. I got many bags out there, and they're all sopping wet because we've had almost an inch of rain in the last 2.5 days. And that big cyclone bomb they called it, they hit San Francisco, hit Idaho, and left us a lot of wind and a lot of dead leaves. And I'm hoping they get dried out so I can go out there and get them mowed up and thrown on the compost pile, hopefully in the next day or two. Lola Ranch. Endless hot shower sounds wonderful. It is. It's nice if you're in an RV park, right? Because you got endless water coming in. But yeah. And so yeah, endless hot shower in an RV is almost unheard of, especially if you've got the old Atwood 6 or 10 gallon jobby. No more Navy showers. You're welcome, Mr. Rodriguez. I will research that and we'll share that information with you next week. There you go. Thanks, George, aka Dad says probable search, doghouse latch. Yep. I'm just thinking like on the old Jeeps, and the reason I know this is because my very first vehicle was a 58 Willys Jeep station wagon. It had those, it looks like a T, right? The handle's like a T, and then there's a little latch, and you just pick it up and you put it over the hood, and it locks into the latch. And so I think those would work perfect. But that's a good one. You could probably, Mr. Rodriguez, do that. Do a quick search for doghouse latches, and you might find something a little faster if you're in a hurry. Otherwise, I will look them up and have them for you next week. Yeah, latch from a YJ. Exactly, Gary. I was thinking CJ, but oh, there's Bob Davis says rubber hood hold down from a Pete or KW truck would work. Yeah, that's a good idea. Those are nice too. That they just come up and latch. They're a T handle like we're talking about, right? Tom Downey says we just did 4 days without hookups. Our batteries dropped to 13.2. That's pretty damn good. If you go 4 days and only drop to 13.2, that's really good. Mr. Rodriguez is thanking George and Bob and Gary for their suggestions. Renee Morris, it's teetering on the upper 30s tomorrow morning in Tennessee. Yeah, that's where they're expecting us to be too. Right now it's 42 degrees outside. But yeah, we're expecting to be in the upper 30s. Somehow, we had a really wicked cold snap. Well, not wicked, but we had cold and snow 2 weeks ago, and I managed to get my tomatoes through it. I just went out and I had some old floating row cover that I wrapped my tomatoes up with, and they made it through just fine. In fact, I picked tomatoes off of them today, but they're getting pretty thin. Tomatoes like heat; they like to be warm to ripen. And I might be picking a bunch of green ones and throwing them on the counter, waiting for them to ripe here pretty soon, because I expect we're going to see some more freezing weather here real quick here in Idaho. Roundtown Scouter, he says on Amazon, Rugged Ridge, blah, 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 black hood catch pear. There you go. Hood catch. Thank you. Hi, Brandon Scully. It's awesome to have you in, and you are very welcome. Thanks for bringing yourself to the channel. And of course, don't be shy. You can ask any questions. This is a safe zone. There are no dumb questions, only dumb answers provided by your host. Wink, wink. Tom Downey. Always a bragger in the house. Always a bragger in the house. Light wind and 79 degrees. Where's your raspberry for the night? Yes, welcome, Brandon. All right, we're coming up on 8:30, and I generally try to keep these down to an hour and a half. So, last call for alcohol. Last call for questions. Okay. Lola says, looking forward to info on your pickup. Need a 1 ton to replace my 3/4 ton to be able to tow my 34-foot fifth wheel 9370 dry weight. So what's your half ton, or what's your 3/4 ton? Because that's what I'm looking for, Lola. Is a 3/4 ton. I would take a Ford, would be my first choice, but a GM or a Chevy is fine. What year is it? And what is it? Richard Kirby, you're still awake? Richard says, try wrapping the tomatoes in newspaper on the counter. They will ripen nicely. Yeah. Actually, what I used to do, and what I still do, is I will take an apple, a small slice of apple, and throw it in a paper bag with the tomatoes. That generates ethylene gas, and that's how they ripen them when they pick them green. Same with bananas, is ethylene gas triggers the ripening mechanism in tomatoes and bananas. And you can get that by just a slice of apple, and that's the way I've done it. Chris Reeves, thank you so much. Good night, brother. Yep, thanks, Bob. That's the way I say it, too. Only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Good night, Bob. Great to have you in. Tom Downey, this is why we went south. Don't rub it in. I'm hoping that I can get everything pulled together and I can have a truck camper and everything ready to go, and I might go south for a couple weeks in January. Keep your fingers crossed. That would be really nice. Go down to Arizona. Go down and check out the Gem show in Tucson is unbelievable. I've got lots of pictures and footage from that. One of these days, I think I'll put a video out about that. Lola says she has a 2001 Dodge Ram Cummins 5.9, not enough power. Is it a 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, Lola? Just asking because, we might be able to make a deal since I'm looking for a truck. I'm not in any particular hurry, by the way. But, okay, coming up on 8:30. Last call for questions, comments. Tom says they have room. Okay, good to know, Tom. Actually, while I'm kind of wrapping things up, I have had a visit to Big Bend National Park on my list to do for so many years. It's so far out there to it. Yeah. Yeah, GD Rodriguez, Go Gem Show. Yeah, that's a fun, I loved it. That was one of the nice things about being in Tucson. Every year I would go over at least twice. and hit the gem show. And I got some really sweet crystals and stuff for a really inexpensive price. Hitting the gem show. Lola Ranch says, don't recommend it, Money Pit. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Yeah, rocks don't travel well. Actually, if you have watched my BioGeo method video, of cleaning my holding tanks, about 4 or 5 minutes into that video, I show you video of me dumping my tanks that I've done the road scrub on. And if you happen to look, there's about 6 or 7 old Folgers plastic coffee cans in my water bay, and those were all full of rocks that I was hauling back to put in my storage. So, but you're right, rocks don't travel well. All right. Well, didn't we have a great night? Loved it. Thank you so much. Richard, great to have you in from Germany tonight. So happy that you got up and joined us. And looking forward to working with you and handing over the keys here in about, 6 or 7 months, something like that. Nerdy Farm Girl says she's here because of my BioGeo method. Great to have you in, and thanks so much for making a comment. Okay, let's wrap her up. Thanks everybody for watching the show. Don't forget to support my Amazon store. Link in the description below. Visit my website. That thumbs up, always greatly appreciated. Subscribing, ringing the notification bell, and one last question from Lola. How do I travel with plants? I would take my plants and I would put them in the sink. And that's how I traveled with my plants, is I would just stick them in my sink and put them out when I got to wherever I was. And in fact, fun side note, I always had a 5-gallon bucket with a tomato plant in it. And I traveled with it, in the winter. It would sit outside my RV in the RV park in Tucson, and I'd be picking tomatoes off of it during the winter. And that one, of course, a 5-gallon bucket, I would just set it on the floor whenever I would leave and take it with me. But I put mine in my sink, and then I had plants that I put in my bathtub. Okay, so that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Until we get together next week, peace. Good night. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I'm sure.